Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of I Am I. My name is Joshua Ansley, and yeah, I shaved my beard. Some disclaimers here. Some of the stuff that I talk about, it has to be taken within context. So you can really abuse a lot of this teaching and prove where it doesn't work for you or something like that. When I say this teaching, I'm just saying any of these teachings because I take from everywhere, right? And it also needs to be mixed with other principles, you know, so it has to be within context and it has to be mixed with other principles. You know, if you just say like, well, I just love, I love, and I never get back, it's like, yeah, because you're codependent and you know, it's your understanding can be completely mired in shit just because you watch one vlog or work with one principle. You have to understand that there's all different levels of principles that need to be incorporated. And so I just wanted to say that because a lot of this stuff can be definitely misinterpreted, and that's what's so fun about it. You could totally not have a clue what the hell I'm trying to say, because you probably don't, because I don't know what I'm trying to say. So today I wanted to talk about, I think it was kind of funny, I'm balancing on a log in the middle of the woods, so I may lose my balance a little bit here, but I am going back to a yoga studio that I was let go from, which I didn't even know why I was let go from, but I found out that it was because I was spreading my Christian beliefs, apparently. I didn't know that I had Christian beliefs. I didn't know that I was Christian, so that was a shock to me. But, you know, I understand that the way the mind works is that it's going to try to categorize things in this world of relativity, right? To understand. It's a really great method of efficiency. So we can like, okay, understand these principles about something, put it over there so the mind can keep going towards something else, right? It's an incredible faculty. But it can also get in our way. So none of these things can be taken to the extreme. Obviously, I was put into a box and somebody thought that because I said something about Jesus or Christ or something like that, that must mean that I'm Christian. Now, I get that. That's a logical deduction, and so I'm not shocked at that. But I think it's astounding to me, and it's not astounding, but it's that people probably don't listen. So as soon as we hear a trigger word, we have our conditioning that changes the way we're relating to something, right? And it's the conditioning that we're trying to change. Like, that's the whole game, is really changing our conditioning to get outside of the mind, right? I always talk about it's not something that's inside the mind, but the way we're operating in this world is going to be through the mind. The mind is the part of us that thinks it's all of us. I read that recently somewhere. It's pretty awesome, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense. The mind is the part of us that thinks it's all of us, you know, and the mind would create the thought of ahankara, the ego, that thinks that it's everything, right? And understandably, we even have a negative idea of what ego is. Ego doesn't need to be killed entirely necessarily. It just needs to be subjugated to a higher level of understanding, right? So, you know, when I look at it, it's like I understand that when I teach, I share my experience, strength, and hope of my entire spiritual journey, which incorporates a lot of different things. So I do have an affinity for the man Christ. He was an awesome guru who had some cool shit to say. You know, I believe that we all can do exactly what he did. I believe that that's some really deep shit and takes a lot of work. And most people are never going to get there, probably not in this lifetime, as we're mired in this external world and just mired in, the mind operating in this external world, right? But I think he was a badass dude. But I also study Eastern philosophy. I also study, you know, any scientific research that I can do and get my hands on and try to make sense of what works for me. And you know, sometimes it's like, it's hard because as I make sense of it, the whole idea is that it's not gonna make sense. So sometimes we're limiting ourselves by having it make sense, right? But for me, I don't allow myself to have my conditioning against organized religion, because I've definitely been conditioned against organized religion. And I have a lot of friends, right? We were the rebellious artist types that were like, fuck this, don't tell me what to do, and fuck you, I won't do what you tell me, and all, whoa, that kind of stuff. And right, and I understand, okay, all right, so that happened. So I understand where that's coming from, but that's very limiting. Whoa. So for me, it's understanding that these different modalities exist, right? And they're all kind of saying the same shit. I was talking to my friend today about it. And it's like, look, if you want to call it negative emotions, dark psychological forces, or you want to call them demons, or you want to call it, you know, lower vibrational frequencies. I mean, they can manifest within our subconscious in different ways. That's what's great about the Jungian philosophy of archetypes and things like that. But really, it's all saying the same damn shit. It's all saying that, hey, we're not separate, we're all one. Now, what's interesting is you get into these different philosophies, right? Because even within, because I would say the Christian, you know, idea is that, you know, we worship Christ, right? Even though he said that it's written in the Bible that, right, we are joint heirs with Christ and all that kind of stuff. So there's the idea that Christ is, you know, and God is something outside of us, right? And in the Eastern philosophy, generalization, I'm saying, because there's all different Advaita, Dvaita, Vedanta, that's just Vedanta, and there's all different kinds of modes and understanding about whether or not we are one with God, whether we are God. I usually talk about that I teach from a Vedantic philosophy, and Advaita Vedanta is non-dualism. So there's no separation between us and this divinity, right? But there's all different modes. And it's like, if you want to talk about me being Christian, is like, I also read the Satanic Bible. So I don't know where that Christianity is coming from, but I can tell you that there's a lot of good principles. If you are a codependent person, you could actually learn a lot from Satanists. Because again, I don't know much about Satanism, but I do understand that as they believe that we believe in Satan, that the individual is individual gods, that everybody is individual gods, right? So it's not about killing babies and shit like that. It's about that every single one of us is an individual God, and that there's a separation. So it's still, you can still love, but if you cause me any harm, or you're causing my loved ones any harm, then I will destroy you, because we are separate. However, the Eastern philosophy has this idea of inclusion, that all of us are together as one. It's only the mind and the body that think that we are separate. And that's also really deeper in Eastern, in Christian mysticism as well too, that like we are actually one with this, or our connection to it is what creates that oneness. But anyway, so it's all these, through all these different modalities, and it's really archetypal, and it just blows my mind that people, as soon as we have these trigger words, you know, and I get it too, because that's the way the brain works, to categorize and understand something, to be efficient, and I do it too, you know. But I just say to be careful, to stay open, to observe, to not engage in sloth, because sloth is to generalize. Wow, talk about sloth. I look a mess right now. If you're making a generalization, that's how we get into racism, that's how we get into hate, that's how we get into separation. You know, if you're saying all men are this, or all women are this, or all attorneys are this, or all police officers are this, it's like, step out of that and just really observe. That doesn't mean that you have to, this is why I said not getting lost in one singular principle that I'm talking about. Because that doesn't mean that you go, oh, so maybe he's not such a jerk off. No, he's probably a jerk off, and that's okay. You just take the space from that dude, you know? But working with this principle that from a distance, we can understand how to observe things and not just generalize things in our lives. But man, you know, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So maybe I am Christian. Oh, fuck. What? Too much? Oh. I don't know, maybe God does hate fags for all I know. And I'm fucking going to hell because I sucked some dick in my time. Jesus can suck my dick.